Hi again. I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about metal stamping for making jewelry and things. And the first video that I did about the stamping, I went over a little bit about the tools that you want to use and some of the misinformation that I've seen out there. And in this one, I want to talk to you about the blanks that you'll use, so the kinds of metals that you'll stamp on, and then also the kinds of stamps that you'll use in your jewelry making. So first off, let's talk a little bit about, well, let's just start with the stamps that you want to use. So this is a set from Hobby Lobby. It was the least expensive one that they had. It was the first one that I purchased. It was about $20, and you can use your coupon to get it for, almost half price. And the stamps are where the expense is going to come in for your metal stamping, because where this was a $20 set, and that's just for the lowercase letters, there are more expensive sets like the Impressart sets, which come with some design stamps in it, and they come in this really nice case that's nice and organized for you. And then there are even more expensive ones. This one I bought online. It's a specialty font, and they come in different sizes. So there's 2mm, 3mm, 6mm, whatever. I recommend you start with a 3mm lowercase font, and that's just because most of the projects that you will want to create can be done in all lowercase. I have several pieces that I've made where maybe names, or because it says, I have one that says because I am a mother, all of the things that should be capitalized on metal stamping, it still looks cute if you just go ahead and do it all in lowercase when you're starting out. And then if you don't like it, you haven't spent a boatload of money on stamps that you're not going to use. And then, oh my gosh, this is so heavy. Okay, so there are also design stamps that you can purchase. These are all sold separately. You can get some in sets at the craft store, some you can purchase online. There are some that I've purchased from the Supply Guy on Etsy, Metal Supply Chick, Urban Beaters, Seaside Supplies, Beaducation. There are all kinds of suppliers and places that you can get the design stamps. So, I mean, it's a hobby that adds up fast, and so just bear that in mind. So the thing with these kinds of metal stamps, these are made for stamping on soft metals. So metals like aluminum or brass or copper. This is anodized aluminum that just gives it some color. You can use them to stamp on pewter or silver, but you don't ever want to use them on like a stainless steel or a galvanized steel or anything like that. A lot of the tutorials that I saw recommended using them, just getting washers like at the hardware store, because you can get a lot of them and you can get them really cheaply. But the problem with that is these impressions on here, the stamps, are not made to use with hard metals, and so over time, as you're stamping on that piece on hard metals over and over, like spoons or washers or any other hard metal, you're going to wear down the stamp, the impression on the stamp, and then in the future when you go to stamp some more, you're not going to get a good impression. It'll be dull, it'll be just worn away, it'll be hard to see. And so if you're planning on stamping harder metals, you definitely want to look at getting stamps that are specifically made for harder metals, because these, again, they're expensive, and you don't want to ruin your expensive stamps on cheap materials that you're stamping onto. It's just such a waste, and it's better to spend a little extra money on good materials in the beginning and not waste so much money down the line. And then, so just really quickly about the blanks that you can use and the metals that you can use. Again, you know, this is an array of some of the blanks that I have. They come in all kinds of shapes and colors and sizes and metals, and you can find all of these online as well. Some, like Impressart, you can get at the craft store. This is an Impressart blank. This is Impressart. Anyway, and then if you want to get into things that are a little bit more exotic, I say exotic, but I just mean things that are not aluminum. You can get brass or copper or silver or pewter all online. Etsy is my favorite place to look for those kinds of things. And some of the suppliers that I mentioned for the design stamps also supply blanks. So Metal Supply Chick, Uncommon Supplies, Beaducation, Metal Supply Chick, Supply Guy. I'm sure I've said some of those twice. Seaside Supplies. A lot of those sell the blanks as well. And you can just look up metal stamping blanks on Etsy. And the thing is, they're so ridiculously inexpensive on Etsy, but you do have to factor in shipping. So if you're getting like a metal stamp, I can totally justify adding in a bunch of blanks and save on shipping. If I'm just getting blanks, I probably, you know, might want to hold off until I have something else to purchase it with. So that's just what I do. And then also the blanks at the craft store, again, you can use a coupon and get them for a lot cheaper, which is what I recommend. I wouldn't want to pay full price for this kind of thing at the craft store. So just keep that in mind. So aluminum is the softest metal that you can work with. And so you just don't have to strike your stamp as hard with your hammer when you're making an impression on aluminum. And then, you know, so it's also the most inexpensive one. And so when you're starting off, probably aluminum is what you want to start learning on. There are, I'll show you, these blank jewelry findings that you can get at the craft store. And I got a bunch of those in the beginning because I didn't know any different. And I have no idea what kind of metal these are made of, but when you stamp on them, it's really hard to get a good impression. And then when you go to polish away whatever darkening agent you used, it also takes the finish off of this metal. And that just doesn't do you any good. It's just a waste of money. They're crazy cheap, but you know, this probably isn't the ideal setting to use them for. So I don't use them anymore. So I have a lot of these. So I just use them for other kinds of projects. And then another thing is just making sure that you're stamping onto a smooth, hard surface like your bench block here instead of onto maybe concrete or your table. If you're stamping on something like your table, you're going to mar the surface that you're stamping onto. And if you're stamping onto something like concrete, then the texture of the concrete will transfer onto the back of your piece here. And I think that's all for this video. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you've had different results than I have, or other tips that you'd like to add, feel free to leave those in the comments, and I will answer as many questions as I can. And maybe in another video we can work on a project and I can show you how it all comes together. So hopefully that was a help. And again, let me know if you have any thoughts. Thanks.